Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
You're welcome to the Nketia Center for Africana Studies, and we are still continuing the African Divinity Studies with JUJU, and we'd just like to introduce our main speaker for this session. Kwabena Baffour Awuah, great-grandson of the chief in the Asante Imperial Army, began his spiritual journey as a school chaplain. He was a chorister in the Presbyterian Church, became a Mormon, and served as a prophet of the Tabernacle of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Church. His quest for knowledge led him to study at the Tigari Shrine in Ghana and later to India, Nepal, and Tibet. He explored Sufi mysticism in West Africa, was crowned King Bowelunu Alumati in Benin, and earned an honorary doctorate in leadership. He currently serves as the front desk representative for the International Human Rights Commission Committee on African Indigenous Religions, Ghanaian chapter, and operates a healing house and spiritual temple. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause from me. Welcome.
Welcome everyone. Before our speaker joins us, I'd like to give a few welcome remarks on behalf of the Kwabena and Nketia Center for Africana Studies. So good afternoon, distinguished colleagues, scholars, students, friends, and friends of the Kwabena and Nketia Center for Africana Studies, in person and online. At the Kwabena and Nketia Center for Africana Studies, we do not gather merely to discuss ideas. We gather to correct the record, reclaim our intellectual sovereignty, and dismantle the colonial distortions that have clouded African sciences for centuries. Today's theme, Effects of JUJU on the Science of VODUN, strikes at the heart of that mission. For too long, African spiritual technologies, our systems of energy work, protection, healing, divination, and metaphysics, have been renamed, demonized, and trivialized by outsiders who never understood them. JUJU was turned into a caricature, VODUN into a fear tactic, and African science into superstition. But we are no longer operating from the margins. We are reclaiming our center. VODUN is not primitive mysticism. It is a philosophical and scientific system rooted in observation, ecology, mathematics, morality, and the physics of spirit. What the world calls JUJU is the African mastery of forces that Western science is only now beginning to acknowledge. Vibration, frequency, intention, ancestral memory, and the deep laws of connectivity. So today is not simply an academic exercise. It is an act of intellectual repair. It is an assertion of cultural legitimacy. It is a refusal to let others define the boundaries of African thought. And there is no better guide for this conversation than our speaker, Puduo Baffour Awuah Gyawu-Kyem of the Bantama Royal Palace, a man whose authority comes not just from textbooks, but from lineage, lived experience, and a direct inheritance of indigenous knowledge. As we proceed, I invite us to think boldly, questioned freely, and shed every colonial filter that prevents us from seeing ourselves clearly. Welcome to a space where African science is not defended, it is declared. Let us begin.
Once again, it's a great honor for me to be present today to be able to deliver another session concerning the series, the Africana Divinity Studies. Today we'll be doing a bit more of a review, and the topic that we'll be treating today, which is the effects of JUJU on the science of VODUN, will seek to clarify all that we have learned for the past 1 month. So this session is going to condense all the knowledge that we've gathered over this period of time, and we are going to simplify it. So before we proceed, for the almost 1 month now, we've actually been speaking on JUJU, which is actually a taboo subject across the whole of Africa, and it's actually a subject matter that people believe can lead others to hell. It's a subject matter that when you raise, then it means you have no connection to God, you have no connection to the Supreme, you have not an iota of righteousness or purity in you. These are all Western perceptions and definitions of African indigenous cultural systems. So the Africana Divinity Studies seeks to empower, embolden, encourage Africans to speak for themselves and define. Time for us to define our reality by ourselves, for ourselves. It's time for our educational systems to become FUBU. When I say FUBU, what do I mean? For us, by us. This is a definition for us, by us. We get to define who we are. We get to define where we are going. We get to define our understanding of the cosmics and our relationship with the universe, God, and everything in between. We, for us, by us. How did our forefathers understood it? How did our great-great-grandfathers understood it? What was the purpose and what was the intention for those definitions, those names, those words? Every word in Africa does not come about or did not come about because our ancestors felt lazy or they didn't have anything to do, or because that day was an off day, they didn't have to go to the farm, so they sat under the palm tree, had too much palm wine to drink, and then decided to name things for naming's sake, or decided to come up with concepts for coming up's sake. Everything in Africa defines itself. Everything in Africa defines itself. So all we do here in Africa is we look at the structure and then we name the structure, we name the process, we name the art form based on how it is presenting itself. There's a saying in Akan language which says, Udin ni wohunam yede. Udin ene wohunam. Udin ene wohunam. Exactly. It means you are named based on your character. Yes. You are named based on what you are reflecting. You are named based on what you are manifesting. everything that you see, every name that you know of, whether it's a plant, whether it's an animal, whether it's a tribe, whether it's a clan, whether it's a philosophy, whether it's a practice, everything in Africa, yes, because you define yourself, you bring your essence out, and we only tell you what we see based on how you define yourself. So for a month now, we've been speaking on the subject of JUJU, and we've come to realize that JUJU is from the root word ejo, which is a Fon word, which is the mother tongue of the Ewe language. Yeah. The Ewe language comes from a Fon, and a Fon, JUJU comes from the word ejo, which actually means energy. But in the literal sense, it means fire. However, in the figurative sense, it means energy. And this energy can be fire, water, air, tree, plants, soil, minerals, all these things contain what we call ejo. The sun is one of the biggest forms of ejo in this our living existence, because everything in this universe derives energy from what? The sun. Everything in this universe derives energy from the sun. So the sun has ejo, energy that it gives to us. We absorb it through the biggest cell in our body, which is the skin. Plants need it, microorganisms need it, shrubs need it. Every type of living membrane or living membrane actually requires the ejo from the sun to be able to exist. And we realize that there are two forms of ejo, which is the internal ejo and then the cosmic ejo. The ejo internally within you, and then the ejo which is externally within the cosmics, or which is within the cosmos. The ejo in the plants, the ejo in the food we eat, the ejo in the stones, the ejo in rocks, the ejo in water, the ejo in fire, the ejo in every living thing. When these two, the internal ejo, the internal energy, the internal chi, and the internal prana, or the internal ki, or the internal what? Ruha, or the internal ru, when it connects to the external, that is when ejo takes place. Language corrupts over time. It metamorphosizes. It fuses itself. Sometimes you can have a bigger language or a bigger word. Over time, it is shortened. Sometimes you have a shorter word, and then over time, it becomes elongated. Ejo, with the passage of time, became jojo. Jojo, with the passage of time, became jojo. Jojo, with the passage of time, became what? JUJU. So when we talk about JUJU, we are actually talking about the marriage of the physical and the marriage of the cosmics. The marriage of your internal chi, the marriage of your internal power, the marriage of your internal energy, the marriage of the Holy Spirit within you, and the marriage of the cosmics. Because whatever is inside of you is already in the cosmics. We are only a spark of fire. The universe is a big inferno. However, without the inferno, you cannot create the spark of fire. And the inferno cannot create itself without that spark of fire as well. Because it's a spark of fire that burns to become the inferno. And then when the inferno is blazing and it's blazing and it's blazing hot, that is when it begins to throw these sparks of fire. When these sparks of fire catches any dry leaf, any dry shrub, and then it has the ability to also recreate a new inferno. Are you following the conversation? So Ejo is just a combination or the marriage of the internal chi with the external chi. So when we talk about the effects of JUJU on VODUN, the effects of JUJU on VODUN. What is VODUN? Can everybody give me an example of a VODUN that they know of? When we say VODUN, what's the first thing that comes to mind? VODUN or voodoo. You know, colonizers say voodoo, so that, but that's not a word. Voodoo is also a derogatory word. You understand? Voodoo, hoodoo, she do. No. He do. No. It's VODUN. VODUN. That is the real word. The effects of JUJU on VODUN. Can anybody give me an example of a VODUN that they've heard of, that they know, that they've experienced, that they've read of?
Is it ever language?
Yes, VODUN is form, is
I
ever.
have not heard it before.
Oh, you've not heard VODUN before?
This is my first time.
Oh, really? Have you heard of voodoo? You've heard of voodoo, but you've not heard of VODUN. Okay, so when we say voodoo, okay, for the sake of this class, let's say voodoo. What comes to mind? Black magic. Voodoo or voodoo. What comes to mind? Black magic. Animal sacrifice. Witchcraft. Idol worship. Shrine. Bush jungle. Dog head. Cat leg. Crocodile hip. Human skull. Blood. Sakawa.
Yeah, Sakawa is there.
Sleeping in a coffin. You know it. Tell me. Paganism. Paganism. What else? Heathenism. Going to hell. Going to hell. You know, being an enemy of God. But none of these things defines the real and proper understanding of VODUN. Sometimes you go to a shrine and you see a big altar, right? You see a very big altar with probably some sacrificial items on it, like blood, like cornmeal, like soda, like root beer. Like, you know, you can see different types of things on the altar, you know, where the sacrifices has been made. Now, that you cannot define as VODUN to a large extent. That is only an altar. The altar, for example, this could be the altar where you see the blood being sacrificed on it, right? Okay, we're going to use the phone, because since we are dealing with a lot of Gen Zs, we will use the phone. Now, this phone, what composes or what comprises the phone? What makes up the phone? Battery, screen, memory, the chip, the casing, the earpiece is part of it. The mouthpiece is part of it. The mouthpiece is part of it, right? The charger is part of it. The cord is part of it. The chip, the screen, the cover. When you put all these together, how would you call it? Mobile phone. When you put all this together, you call it mobile phone. So when you go into a shrine or a temple and you see the big altar, there are different things that have been put together encased in the big altar, and they serve a peculiar function. Now, for example, you see what I have on my neck? It contains different elements within it. So this is another form of a mobile phone. It contains so many different components. All the components that you have actually mentioned can all be found in this, but in a different form. It's just the same way when you go to the temple and then you see the big altar. The big altar contains herbs, animal parts, roots, barks, rocks, stones, water stuff from water body, from thunder, from this, from that, from that, from this and that. And it has been formulated purposely to serve a particular function. So that is why two shrines or two altars do not serve the same purpose. Two altars do not serve the same purpose. We have altars that are used for protection, which are protective altars. You see these two? They are one and the same, but they have different functions. They are one and the same, but they have different functions. The composition in this is different from the composition. Now, this one has a different function. This has a different function. Now, why do they have different functions? Because they've been composed differently. They've been composed differently using particular kind of herbs, roots, and barks to generate a peculiar kind of chemical reaction. The chemical reactions in these two are different. So based on the chemical reaction that the altar creates, that defines the job that it does. So you see some of the shrines or some of the altars, when it's built, you see like knives, you see cutlasses, you see guns and arrows placed by them or as part of the altar. Do you know why? Because it has been composed for defense. And when the ceremonies and the rituals are done, and it is fed what it needs to be fed, it is supposed to create a chemical reaction that becomes defensive. There are also altars. When you go, you see the altars and you see a lot of money, like cowrie shells, coins, and all these things that has been composed as part of the shrine. And what is that shrine supposed to do? What is that altar supposed to do? It's to help in business. It's to help in favor. Because it has been composed that way. And it's all based on the chemical reaction. Now, these chemical reactions can never take place unless the right ingredients have been formulated. Unless the right ingredients have been put together to create that peculiar chemical reaction. What causes the chemical reaction? That is where our subject matter lies today. That is what we call JUJU. That is what we call EJO. That is what we call JUJU. That is what we call JUJU. The chemical reaction that causes one particular shrine or one particular altar to act differently from the next one. So we use the phone as an example. We use this phone as an example. So if this is the altar, because of the motherboard, because of the chip, because of the memory, because of the screen, the keypad, the this, the that, the core minini, then it's comprised or is composed as a mobile phone. But this mobile phone cannot function with all these elements in them. It cannot function on its own. It needs something to quicken it. What quickens the mobile phone? You are close by.
The battery.
The battery. Yes, you are close by. Not the motherboard. What quickens it? What quickens the motherboard? What quickens the whole composition? Power. Electricity. That is what I'm looking for. Electricity. The electricity is passed onto the phone through what? The charger. But something absorbs the electricity from the socket before it goes through the head and goes through the charger. The head pin, right? Yes. The charging pins has to go into the socket. The electricity has to flow through that, flow through the cord, and then what happens to the phone? The battery absorbs the power. If the battery does not absorb the power, will you see a reflection of any charging? It will not charge. So, upon all that we have said, you can buy the latest mobile phone. If you do not have the charger, you cannot, or you don't have the battery in the phone, you cannot access the electrical currents, the power, the energy that you need to make the phone function. The electricity is the source, right? That is the ejo. It's an external force. It is an external force. It is coming from Akosombo. It is not part and parcel of the phone. Let's get this clear. The electricity or the electrical current that you need to charge this phone is coming from where? Akosombo. The electricity that you need to charge, it is not sold as part of the component of the phone at the phone shop. They only sell what? The phone to you, and then you come home and then you charge it using an external source. However, there is an inbuilt element in this phone that absorbs the external energy and stores it in this phone. That is what? The battery. So that's what I said. Ejo, the internal ejo, and the external ejo. Internal energy and external energy. The battery already has its own composition, which is, which has its own vibration. It has its own power. You understand? That has been formulated so that it can be able to absorb the energy from the electrical space for it to be able to do what? To function. But even when the electricity absorbs the current and the battery is 100% full, you cannot make the call if you don't have what? A chip. The CPU, the central processing unit. Then where do you store the numbers? Where do you store the numbers? You've already absorbed electricity, chi, energy, prana from an external electrical source onto the phone or into the phone, which the battery has absorbed and is what? Conserving it for future use. But then it becomes useless if you do not have what? The chip. And even if you have the chip, and then your screen is playing up, you still cannot make a call. If your screen is all set, your chip is all set, your battery is at 100%, and then your keypads are locked, you still cannot make a call. Now, all these things that I'm talking about are part of the components, the chi, the energy sources that you need to be able to be here in Ghana and have a communication with somebody in America. All these things are part of the ejo, part of the energy. Every single component has what it brings to the table. Are we clear? Every single component has what it brings to the table. So when we talk about the effects of JUJU on VODUN, we are actually talking about what makes VODUN function. What makes Tigari function? What makes Shango function? What makes Manuata function? What makes Nakwale function? Kole, what makes it function? What makes Sakata function? Atiam Frama, what makes it function? There is something that makes all these energies function. Nogopo, what makes Nogopo function? It is the ejo, energy. Without JUJU, VODUN cannot function. JUJU is the battery. JUJU is the battery of VODUN. JUJU is the power source of VODUN. JUJU is that particular element or the elements that quicken VODUN to function. You see? Hey. So without JUJU, without the ejojo, without the ejo communicating, for instance, we have all this composition. This is a tigari, right? We have all this composition. Depending on what you give tigari and how it will react. If you give it beer, there's a particular job that it will do for you. If you give it mineral, it will give you a different job. If you give it appetition, it will give you a different job or a different answer. If you just give it any type of drink, depending on the drink that you give, that will determine the job you want it to do. So if you go to Tigari and after the divination session, Tigari demands that you bring A, B, C. Tigari is demanding for you to bring the A, B, C because Tigari needs the ejo, the essence in those A, B, C to be able to function to give you the answer that you are what?
Looking for.
Exactly. It's just the same way as when you go to church and your pastor gives you a panchet. Your problem determines your panchet, right? Your problem, your issue will determine the level of panchet or the level of direction. Your problem determines the type of prayer that you need to pray. Why do we even pray? We pray from within. And who do we pray to? We pray to something without. Because you want the internal chi to be able to merge and become one with the cosmic chi. So when you are here, oh God, help me to, help me to, help me to, help me to. What are you doing? You are projecting the chi into the cosmics. You are projecting the ejo into the cosmics. You are projecting the energy into the cosmics. And you are expecting the cosmics to do what? To reply. So what you put out, ask and it shall be what?
Giving unto you.
Knock and it shall be what?
Open.
Exactly.
Seek.
And you shall find. How you seek will determine how you find it. How you knock will determine how it is open to you. If you come in here and you are knocking as if somebody is chasing behind you, and you go, we will all be forced to do what?
Open.
To open. But if you come and say, call, and then you relax and you chill, 3 minutes, call, you are not in a hurry to enter into the room. So you are not putting out enough chi, enough ejo. You understand? Yeah. To connect to our ejo, to be able to move with that speed of light, to do what? To open the door for you. VODUN functions on JUJU. Energy. Everything in the cosmos functions on energy. Christianity functions on energy. Prayers is energy. Drumming is energy. You produce energy by drumming. Sound. And what? Praise and worship is a production of energy. Fasting produces energy. In Islam, you do your ablution, you stand before Allah facing the east, Allahu Akbar, do your prostrations. Every posture is supposed to create a form of energy for you to be able to speak to the universal. If you go into the Buddhist shrines, then they have the Nyamnyoringi, which they do behind or before the gozon. The gozon is the altar of the Buddhists. And they have this the Nyamnyoringi Kyo, Nyamnyoringi Kyo, Nyamnyoringi Kyo, Nyamnyoringi Kyo. It's the chanting. The Nyamnyoringi Kyo, that is the chant. Nyamnyoringi Kyo. So that is the energy that they produce on a daily basis to feed the gozon, which is actually their shrine, their VODUN. Every Buddhist has a gozon. And that gozon represents the presence of God. Just as God told Isaac, put these stones together. Pour what? An oil over it. Pour drink offering over it. And this is an altar. And this altar shall be called A, B, C, D. Everything that you call into existence becomes life. So JUJU cannot function, or VODUN cannot function without what? JUJU. The energy. Spirit does not move without energy, because it will always demand for something in exchange of something. In energy, spirit is going to do ABC, is going to expound some form of energy, but then spirit needs you to refill whatever is going to expound based on what spirit is requesting from you. Whatever VODUN requests from you, it needs that same amount of energy to expound. So that is why we have to be careful, even as human beings, when you give too much and you don't have expectations of reception. Then at the end of the day, what else do you have to give? Even the universe demands that when we cut down the tree, we grow. When we harvest the corn, we're supposed to put some back in the ground. Even though Mother Earth gave it to us, but after you harvested, you have to put some back in the ground so that it can regrow. So that in future, even if you are not around, humanity will still be in existence. That is the cycle of energy. So JUJU is the battery that powers the VODUN. So no matter how big the shrine is, no matter how big the altar is, no matter how big the charm is, no matter how big the situation you find yourself, it is the ejo, the ejojo, the jojo, the JUJU that actually makes these shrines and these altars and makes VODUN what? Active. Now let me give you a perfect example to just close this one so you can understand it very well. In Yoruba, when Yorubas are talking about the different orishas, the different orishas is what here we will say VODUN, by Yoruba they will say orisha, and then in Akan they will say Bosom. So Bosom is not different from VODUN, VODUN is not different from orisha. When they're talking about Shango, what is Yoruba Orisha actually referring to? Shango is the god of thunder and fire. I will explain that. When they talk about Ogun, is the god of iron. Aje is the goddess of wealth. Elegba is the god of the crossroads, or the god of ropes. Then Yamaya is the goddess of the sea. Oshun is the goddess of still and sweet waters. Now let me give you a very good example of how all these things come into play. I had to leave my place from the mountains to come here today. When I was coming, I sat in a car. That car was not made from plastic. It was not made from a cardboard. It was not made from wood. That car was made from what? Metal. Who is the god of metal?
The engine.
Ogun. I sat in Ogun. Listen to the story very well. Oh. I'm trying to demystify all the nonsense. I sat in Ogun. Ogun took me from the mountains and brought me to AUCB. I had to pay the driver. I had to pay the driver money. How did I pay the driver? Who paid the driver? The goddess of wealth. Ajay. I sat in Ogun from Akwapim Mountains all the way to AUCB, Accra, Adabraka. And then I had to pay with Ajay energy. The car that I came with, it did not cross over the ocean, it did not fly in the air. It came by what? The road. And who is the god of the roads? Elegba. So, Ogun had to drive on Elegba to get to this destination. And then Ajay had to finalize that conversation. So when I came in here, I can see the microphones, I can see the mobile phones, I can see the lights. This microphone is made from what? Metal. Who is the god of metal? Ogun. So this microphone is Ogun. However, there is something powering the microphone. What is that? Electricity. The energy. The fire. And who is the god of fire and thunder? Shango. Agrada. Are you with me? I'm speaking through Ogun, the microphone, which is made from metal. But then Ogun itself needs to be powered by Shango. Ogun needs to be powered by Shango. All that we are saying, for it to go viral, go all across the globe, we need airtime. It needs to go through a system in airspace. Who controls the airspace? Oya, the goddess of air. And Oya, here in Ghana, we say Atiam Frama. So to go viral, it is Atiam Frama who makes it go viral. So all these components and all these principles, they are all principles of life. So every single day, based on your activity, you are in a state of divinity, but you are just not aware. Every act is a reflection of the power of divinity, but you are just not aware. So you see how I recounted the episode from, taking the car, coming over here, paying with Ajay, taking Ogun, driving on, how do you call it, Elegba, and then Elegba brought us here, and then who has to pay? Ajay has to pay, and then we came in here, speaking inside this microphone, which is Ogun, powered by Shango.
Yes.
Powered by Shango. Exactly. And now we are online, and people are what? Watching us through space. And from who? Oya. So you see all the energies, the divinities, and how you correlate them. So when we are talking about Shango, Ogun, and all these things, we're not really talking about just human figures. We're not just talking about some entities. We are actually talking about life. Every single aspect of our lives. Every single aspect of our lives. That is where the magic happens, the ejo. Because every single aspect of our life will emanate some form of energy, some form of ejo. So can VODUN function without ejo? Can VODUN function without energy? Can you function without energy? Can the animals function without energy? Can the trees function without energy? Can the microphone function without energy? Can we Google the new god of divination, which is Google? Google is the new god of divination. But in Yoruba is Orumila or Afa, the god of divination. You see? But then the modern Orumila or the modern Afa is Google. Can Google function without ejo? Can it function without energy? It cannot. Because Google can only function on your phone or on your laptop. Your laptop needs electrical energy to power the battery before you can access Google. Your phone requires energy for you to be able to access Google. So spirit, energy, VODUN, Orisha, Boson, Tron, any which way we choose to name these energies, they cannot function, or these divinities, they cannot function without what? Jo, which is the energy. Any questions before we break it down and conclude? Any questions? Questions? I know you have a lot of questions, especially you with the shades. Yeah, you seem very animated, so I want you to give me a review. You yourself, you look like an Orisha. So tell us the source of your ejo. Yeah, so give us a brief, before I continue. Please, a microphone. Can you pass the microphone to her, please? Yes, the individual ornaments that I have.
Can they be classified as Efa or?
Okay, when we talk about Efa, we are actually dealing with divination. Okay, for it to be composed the way it is composed, you first need to go and talk to Ifa.
Okay.
So Ifa has to show you how it needs to be done, what you need to add, how you need to add it, when you need to add it. That is where the Ebisa, the Afa, or the divination comes into play. But then, we can call this a mobile VODUN. Mobile. But most of the VODUN is stationary. They don't move. So you have the altars. The altars are stationary. But this becomes like a mobile altar serving a particular purpose. But the particular purpose that it is serving is determined by what is in it.
Do you speak like it's
I don't speak ever. Deka. I don't speak ever at all.
Okay, I can relate. Because I know not only a Fanawa, it's yours, individual.
Yes.
You don't share with anyone. Is that true? So it's different from VODUN.
No, Afa is more or less like customized. It's customized.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so you go to a BMW shop and then they have the warehouse, the big dealership. So the dealership, you can buy any type of BMW there, any type, and everybody has access to buy it as long as you have the money. But then Afa, what Afa does is Afa can customize the BMW for you.
Is the Afana customized the BMW?
Exactly. It's the Afa that directs. Afa is the speaker. Afa is the mouthpiece. Afa is the oracle.
The Afa is derived from what? The VODUN or what?
No, Afa is the one that speaks. Okay, Afa can also be classified, right? Because VODUN has become generic, right? We have the generic and we have the specific. So Afa is what actually leads you to the VODUN. So if you do an Afa divination, Afa can show that, oh, these are the VODUN that is working with you. These are the spirits that are with you. These are the energies that are with you. The energies that are with you, they function normally or they come to visit on this day. They detest this. So because these and that energies are with you, you cannot eat this. You cannot wear this color. You cannot do A, you cannot do B, you cannot do C. If you want to assess them, this is how you need to. So Afa becomes the go-to person. Afa is the one you talk to. Afa is the divinity that you talk to. It's also a divinity on its own. Just like Ashe. Ashe is the power of the spoken word. But Ashe is also considered divinity. Because what we are doing here, the word that I'm speaking, all these words that I'm speaking, it's Ashe that I'm bringing out. So I'm speaking Ashe through Ogun, powered by what? Shango. And even Afa does not function on its own. Afa does not function. Afa also relies on Orunmila. Afa relies on Orunmila to give it the messages.
So Orunmila, can you translate Orunmila in English?
Orunmila is more or less like Angel Gabriel. That is the easiest way to. Yes, the Orunmila is the bringer. Orunmila is the bringer of Afa. Orunmila is the one who brought Afa to mankind. So Afa was brought as a divination system, but then the highest priest, the highest Boko, the highest of all of them is Orunmila. The highest of all diviners is Orunmila. Orunmila is the keeper of all the secrets. But Orunmila reveals its secrets through Afa. So for Afa to function, Afa needs to correlate with Orunmila.
So now, what's the difference between an angel and the Afa?
The angel.
Angels and the Afa.
The angels and Afa. Okay, for instance, what's the difference between the Urim and the Tumim and then the angels. The Urim and the Thummim, divination tools in the Bible that Yahweh gave to the people of Israel. You know, if they want to communicate to him through the Urim and the Thummim. So the Urim and the Thummim, you consider that as Ifa.
So like the way we communicate through Jesus.
Oh, now go there. The way Muslims communicate to Allah through Muhammad.
Please, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Why I don't using
We have microphones here.
Alright, so why are you not specifically using the local language for us to understand? Because because the JUJU, like you show me, the one we have, the small one. Personally, I have one. I have one. Maybe it's unfortunate, and I don't wear it always. Maybe tomorrow I hope if you are around.
Okay, I hear you, sir.
Like if I'm here, there's something serious is happening, like gunshots. If you point me gun, then it will not come to me. So I don't wear it regularly.
Yeah.
But it was given by so I have one. So but normally, I don't know, sometimes we don't show off, like you don't have to wear it always. It has some days that I used to wear. But I don't know yours. Like it's meant for regular, but mine, I don't wear it regularly.
Are you a priest?
I'm not a priest.
Have you gone through divination or no? Have you gone through initiation as a priest?
Yes.
No, as a priest, as a practicing priest.
No, not a practicing priest, but I've been with a lot of stuff, which I can even do something and people will be surprised. And people know me here. They can testify. One time I showed something outside the gate here, and the lady was okay because she wake up in the morning, the leg was swollen and she can't move. A student, so I have to just rush home and came to help her out. Since then, she never saw nothing before. So they wanted me to be in such
in that area.
I wouldn't want to show off myself.
So what exactly is your question?
Now, the examples that you use, and we are not using our local.
Which examples are you looking for?
Like the shampoo,
No, simple, and then let's go to the order.
I just want to know, like, to understand, for our understanding.
Okay.
We want us to use the local language.
Okay, let me recap.
Example, so that
Let me recap it.
we can understand it.
Let me recap it for you.
Okay.
I said when I left home, I sat in what? A car that brought me here. And that car is what?
No.
Ogun is the god of metal. It's that same Ogun over here, we call it Adade. Kofi Adade, Yam Adade, Berman. Yes, Adade. Right? So to recap that in a different language, I would say I sat in Adade. And then Adade had to drive not through the air, not under the sea, not on the sea, but Adade had to drive on the road, which I named who? To be the Eleba. Eleba is the way shower. But then this same Eleba, we have it here, you know, Tigari, in the Tigari fraternity is called Yago, which is the Ochiami Yago. So every Ochiami, even in the palace, is a Legba. Hey, that is the way shower.
So the way shower in our language, we call it swelling.
Swelling.
Yes.
So we drove on what? Swelling.
Swelling. Professor Flemming to swelling.
So that is Ochiami. So from there, when we got here, who paid, who Ajay was used to do it, to pay. Now the Ajay is what we call Mamisika. Mamisika.
Okay, to our language,
Larry.
Okay, now I understand.
Now you understand what I'm saying. And then when I came in here, I'm supposed to make a speech. Now, the power of the spoken voice is called Ashe. And this same Ashe is what Christians will say Amen.
Amen.
The same Ashe is what Muslims will say Amen. This same Ashe is what we will call Kasa.
Okay.
Kasa.
Okay.
Kasa. Remo. Well, the Kasa is going through the Ogun, the Adade. You understand? The Adade is also powered by electricity, which is Shango, which is Agrada. Agrada, the god of thunder, and lightning and thunder, is what we know as Shango in Yoruba. But over here we say Agrada. So how do you call this thunder in your language?
Boom.
Boom. Okay. Beautiful. So you see, we have the same things, but we all name them differently. And I'm trying to juxtapose it for us to see it as an everyday experience. You don't need to wear this to be in the moment. You don't need to eat a certain way to be in the moment. You don't need to be initiated into the cult to be in the moment. Every single moment of your life, at every point in time, whatever you are doing, you are channeling bits and pieces of divinity that we are not even aware. I don't know if I'm making sense. So at every point, every action is attributed to a divinity. Every act is attributed to divinity. So whatever you do at every point in time, you are actually channeling a divinity, consciously or unconsciously. You might be doing it with full knowledge, or you might be doing it with little knowledge, or you might be doing it with no knowledge at all. However, you are actually channeling, you understand, whatever it is that you are channeling in those moments.
So what is causing we the Africans now, and we the Africans, especially Ghanaians, like some Ghanaians, they try to eliminate JUJU, like they don't want to believe in it. I don't know what causes it. Because for me, actually, there are things that I still believe in, and I don't joke with it. I'm a Muslim, right? But me, there are specific things that JUJU, like I don't joke with it, and it works for me. But some people are saying no, it doesn't. This one doesn't exist. What and what, and I don't know. Yes.
Well, that's a very good question. That is why the Africana Divinity Studies is a very important subject matter, because until, people are always afraid of what they don't understand. People are very much afraid of the unknown. When people don't know something, they become scared of it. But then once they understand its function, then it becomes much easier for them. So first, we need to demystify. First, we need to break it down from what the colonizers told us or taught us, and then we need to now reinvent, we need to refine, we need to redefine the meaning of these words, and then going forward, look for the scientific appraisals of these things. Because you also have to understand that religion is also politics. Religion is about numbers. Politics is about numbers. Whoever has the most numbers has the most power. So both major religions are actually on the JUJU business, and they be like, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. You have to do ours, or you have to do this, or you have to do that. This is the best way to do it. This is the best way to do it. Anything traditional is a taboo. Even your name, what's your name? So there's Al-Hassan. Al-Hassan is an Arabian name, it's an Arabic name. What is your local indigenous name? Bako. That is where the power is. Al-Hassan does not have nothing to. Exactly. So that is where the slavery is. That is where they get us. The moment you don't use your indigenous name, forget whoever you are channeling. You are not channeling straight to the point. Because the moment they give a name to something, then it changes the whole philosophy, the whole physiology, and the whole psychology. So the first thing they did was change your names. What's your your name is Kwame Adade. No, that is the name of a god, the name of this divinity. No. It's okay, let's give you Stephen.
Like my name, Yvonne. No,
Stephen
my God name. It's like, Nyanya.
Nyanya. Yeah.
That is the name.
You see? Exactly. So the first thing they did, the first and foremost thing they did was take the name, rename everything. Rename the people. And what they did actually, the renaming ceremonies that they did actually had spiritual connotations to it. We have the Johnsons, like Professor will tell you, most names, African American names in America, is from the names of the slave owners.
Yes.
So based on the name that you have, if you are from the Johnson plantations, Mr. Johnson has about 10 different plantations. So everybody within Mr. Johnson's plantation is called a Johnson. So they came here, they rechanged your great-grandfather's name, and somebody living in America, in Portugal, who has never met you, who you will never meet, they actually transposed their family names and gave us names of their forefathers and made us extended families to them that we don't know, we don't share no bloodlines. So they made all of us extended families. Every name they gave was a family name they had over there. So they will come, they will put this name on these people. They will come, they will give these people this name, that name, that name. So all the Christian names, then you actually have a great-grandfather somewhere in Birmingham, you don't even know. You have a great-great-great-grandfather somewhere in Pennsylvania you've never met, that you will never meet. Your children hasn't met them, your great-grandchildren will never meet them. You already have a great-grandmother somewhere in Portugal that none of your family is aware of. And then we are carrying these names with pride. We are carrying these names with pride. So the first thing to do is first take their names away. Once you take their names away, they exist, they cease to exist. Because now, if you mention that name, that local name that you mentioned, the Baku, when you mention that name, I can tell you on authority that when you mention that name, it vibrates, it goes all the way to like 5,000 years. You are actually re-invoking the first Baku. Because that name is not you who brought it over. It's a name that belongs to your grandfather. Your grandfather inherited it from his great-great-grandfather. Your great-great-great-grandfather inherited it from your great-great-great-great-great-great-great. So whatever name that you think you have today in your family name or in your family lineage existed thousands of years ago. So when they mention Baku, we are not calling you. It's not you alone we are calling. We are calling all the energies that came 10,000, 20,000 years ago. But if we call you Alasan, Alasan was just recently. So then it means we have cut off about 5,000 years ago. So all those people who were there 5,000 years ago, then now they are null and void because they are not being invoked. So the first thing we have to do, we have to change our names, and then we have to change the belief system. We have to change from the fact that you need to be a certain way, pray a certain way, worship a certain way to be accepted into heaven. the concept of heaven and hell has actually also helped, in propagating that gospel. Because everybody wants to live a certain lifestyle that will take them to heaven. But in Africa, nobody teaches the child God. What is wrong is wrong. What is right is right. If you do right, the energies will bless you. If you do wrong, Tigare will come and catch you. If you do wrong, Atiam Frama will come for you. There is nowhere you will hide. Because in those days, the community agreed. The community came into agreement that this phone is going to be our judge. This phone is going to be our direction. This phone is going to be our ABCD, our go-to, just like they do in Benin, in Ajara, where I work. There's over 100,000 people. They don't have a police station. Do you know what a police station is? It's a big tree. A big tree. A huge tree in the middle of the town. That is the police station. So if somebody does something wrong to you, just go to the tree. If you have one city, just give the tree, tell the tree your problem. Oh, the tree will send the CIDs to go and investigate. And if they have to go and carry that person, they will carry that person. My sister, they don't play there because the community has agreed. But here too, the community has agreed that the JUJU, we don't want to have anything to do with it. Even the chiefs, who are supposed to be the custodians of the JUJU, you go to a palace and then a pastor will pray before the JUJU man will come and perform his.
Even in my hometown where I come from, my side, my family, even when you are having sex with your wife, and it starts raining, you have to stop. Because we are in charge of the rain. If in terms of like rainy season, like it stops raining, we have to go and do our ceremony. Within 7 days,
the rain must come.
Yes. So, me, if I'm doing that and it starts raining, I have to stop. Yes, actually, I have to, because sometimes it may happen that I should go and do it.
Yeah.
But if I mistakenly do that, then I have to go and do rituals.
Yeah.
So when it starts raining, I have to wait.
Exactly.
When it stops, then I continue. Thank you so much.
I
So we have a few questions online.
Yes, please. Let's take some questions online.
We have some questions online. As you can see, we have several participants who've joined us from all over the world. So one of the questions is from Syria Viace. She said, she has two questions. Let me go to the first one. Beautiful lectures. Since you draw examples from Christianity and other religions, does it mean that every religion works and the only difference is that African spirituality is ours? Also, why do we have different forms of African spirituality?
Does it mean that every religion works? And then why is it that we have different forms of African spirituality? Now, I had a godmother, very rich, like super, Trasaco rich.
Yeah.
So one day I went to her and I was like, Mommy, I need some advice. I need to make as much money as you do. I want to be as rich as you do, or as you are. What is the source of your secret? She looked at me and smiled. You know what she said? Nana B, I don't have any secret. It's all Jesus. It's all Jesus. And Jesus works for her. Jesus works for her. Muhammad works for the Muslims. Because the last edition that we had, we were talking about crystallization. If you have over 1 billion people across the globe, every single day. Pray in the name of who? Jesus. That is 1 million people crystallizing that power in the cosmos. If you tap into that, it will work. Religion is power. It will work. You have over 1 billion Muslims going every day, 5 times a day. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You have over 1 billion people doing it 5 times a day. That is crystallization. It is power in the cosmos. Then, if the Malam sits down, the Malam pulls a rosary. The Malam is actually using Muhammad as the password to tap into the crystallized power. The pastor is only using Jesus in the name of Jesus to tap into the crystallized power. In the name of Jesus, Jesus becomes the passcode. Selu Allahu Nabi Karim. That is the ending of the Selu Allahu Nabi Karim. No, Selu Allahu Nabi Karim. Then they will respond, Selu Allahu Alayhi wa Sallam. Selu Allahu Nabi, the Prophet Muhammad. You understand? That is the passcode. Just the same way, if we want to tap into Odumankuma as an account, then I have to use, all my family, or Sasiya, or something that is related to me. So yes, I'm just opposing all this conversation for us to see that whatever we are doing is not something new. We are not just odd. Everybody, every religion does exactly the same things that we do, that we practice, but then they do it differently, interpret it differently, but then we are all seeking for the same exact results. And the second question is, why do we have different forms of African spiritual practices? Now, to answer that question, you have to ask yourself, why the Gregans call God Atananimo? Why do the accounts call God Kupon? Why do the guns the Evers call God Mau? How do they call God in Bimbila? Bully.
Oh, sorry,
Nawuni.
Boss is bully.
God, the Almighty Creator. Nawuni. So, every tribe and every society, every family had a different experience that defined their reality. During migration, some people, like say all of us in this room, right? We went through like heavy, serious farming, and we had to walk from here to Tema. We were all supposed to head towards Tema. I'm using all of us in this room as an example. So we didn't have food, we didn't have water, we didn't have anything. So our chances of getting to Tema was very slim. Going to Tema, some of us died on the road. Going to Tema, the journey was too tedious, so most of us couldn't make it. But then we got to somewhere like Mungwa, and then we found this big mango tree with a river by it. Along the way, what were we praying for? Praying for water. We were praying for food and shelter. And then we found this mango tree. We found this river. That mango tree saved that clan, that family, that society. That water body saved the family, saved the clan, saved the migrants. So that becomes the epitome of God to them. And they have a different ritual and ceremony to thank God or to connect to the divine. So all these things are part of why you will find some people doing it A, some people doing it B, some people doing it C. And then the African spirituality, there is no cap. African spirituality, there is no cap. as this is exactly how you need to do it. If you don't do it like this, it's a sin. African spirituality is more about what does the Spirit tell you? How does your spirit communicate? Because maybe your spirit will demand for protection. My spirit might demand for water. Because our energies are different. And we move different. We have different purposes and different missions. Based on the mission that you have, that determines the energies that you come on earth with. So if you go to Yoruba, it's different. How the difference is only in the approach and not the philosophy. If you go to Igbo, the difference is only in the approach and not the philosophy. If you come to Ghana, the difference is only in the approach and not the philosophy. Because the underlying philosophy of all African traditional systems and African spiritual system is the creator and the ancestors. You will always find these two everywhere. And everybody in Africa believes in an ancestor. And everybody in Africa has an ancestor. Everybody of African heritage has an ancestor. But we all approach these things differently. So that is, an answer to that particular question that the man asked.
Hello, please. All the forces, the energy.
All the energies
that existed before us, right? So I want to ask, if one energy does not function, so what affects you, the human being? You get it? When you start in the car, that's what you get it. So when one energy doesn't function, what really happens?
Okay, that's a good question. Your body requires different types of nutrients, right? Your body requires different types of nutrients to function. So when you become, your body lacks, what happens to you? When your body lacks iron, what happens to you? When your body is not able to produce the right amount of hemoglobin to create the blood, what happens? You become anemic. So anytime there is a blip, there's a fall, there's a shortage. You understand? Then there's going to be a dis-ease. Your body has been created to be at ease with the cosmos. Your body has been created to be at ease with your mind and your spirit. That is when you are at ease. When you are functioning in the fullness of your equilibrium, your vibration. When there are these disparities within your spirit, there are these disparities within your blood system, there are disparities in your mind, then your body becomes diseased. It becomes the opposite of being at ease. So then, when one energy, becomes more function, what happens? Then it becomes dis-ease. There's no easiness. Just like your body is not at ease no more to be in the full function.
So how will you know the type of energy that you carry in the universe so that you can walk along with?
Divination, Ebisa, Afan. Divination, Ebisa, Afan. Through Kola, through Poly, through Karisha, through sun divination, they call it Hisabi, through sun, through sun divination. Divination, oracle is the mouth of God. Oracle is the voice of God. In African divinity, the oracle is the voice of God. So you must always seek for a good diviner. Always. Any major move you do or you take, seek for a good diviner. Let them see and tell you what they see, what the oracle is saying. Because most problems could have been avoided if All they had to do was consult the oracle before making that move. So look for a good diviner. Yes.
Additional question. Okay, while you're thinking about that, we have people from various generations who've joined us even online.
Okay.
So one young person, Ajite Florence, she says, my question is Jesus a messenger or a God?
It depends on their religion. Because Islam is a messenger.
The concept of God in Africa, differs from the European concept of God. Every family in Africa, the founder of every family, every clan, every tribe, to a large extent becomes the God of that particular tribe. Now let me explain it. Let me use my family as an example. My family, Bantama, was actually founded. It already existed. But the one who actually projected it and made it famous and powerful is Baffour Awuah Gyawu-Kyem. So for over 600 years, every king who has ascended the Bantama throne uses the title of Baffour. Baffour Awuah Gyawu-Kyem is our God. Everybody from Bantama, that is our God figure. Baffour Awuah Gyawu-Kyem is our God figure. Then you go to Akwemu, then you have Bwaponse. You see? He is the God figure based on his contribution to his family. If you go to Agona in Ashanti, it was founded or it was given to Komfanoche as his resting place, as his place to rule. But Komfanoche, because he was a priest, he declined that offer and then made his nephew became the king over there. But then, who do they refer to? Who do they worship? Who is the main man there? That is Okonfanoche. Every family, every branch of the family has its own God. And then every root of the family also has their main God. This is the family. We are talking individuals, so we are not even talking divinity. We are talking individual. So whoever laid their lives for the family to do what? To be established. For the clan to be established. For the community to be established. Those are the gods. That's how we understand it. Those are the people we pray through. So the concept of whether Jesus was God or Jesus was what?
Messenger.
Or messenger, it depends on how you define it. It's up to you. If you want Jesus to be God, you can make Jesus God. If you want Jesus to be messenger, you can make Jesus messenger. To the Muslims, Jesus is what? A messenger. Because, like I was saying, there's politics. There is politics. So there cannot be another prophet higher than Muhammad. So they all have to be in that category of messengership. But then, before Islam came, Christianity had been in existence 1,600 years. Right? And 1,600 years prior to Islam, Christians had believed Jesus Christ to be one and the same as God. So how do you conquer an existing empire? You understand? But you have to play the propaganda game. There's a lot of propaganda in religion as well. There cannot be any prophet higher than Muhammad in Islam. So you have to be put in that category. But then, if you want to consider somebody as your God and your personal Savior, I always advise, ask what that person has contributed to your life. What has that person contributed to your clan? What has that person contributed to your family? What has that person contributed to your community? For me, I will put Okonfanoche above all of them. Any day, anytime, I will put Okonfanoche above Jesus Christ. I will put Okonfanoche above Muhammad. I will put Okonfanoche above Krishna. I will put Okonfanoche above Lord Buddha. I will put Okonfanoche above each and every one of them because he has contributed, not the belief. He has contributed. He gave me kinship. He gave me identity. He made Asanteman what it is. He gave me identity. He gave me a defined language. He gave me a defined this. He defined my existence. He defined who I am today. I don't speak Arabic. I don't speak Hebrew. I don't do none of all these things. But then Muhammad, those living in Quraysh, those living in Arabia, those living in all these places, Muhammad has contributed to their existence. Muhammad has contributed in defining who they are. Those on the desert, the Hebrews, Yeshua, Jesus, whoever, Jesus has defined an identity for them. Jesus did not identify or define any identity for me in Bantama. When we were fighting the wars, when my family was getting slaughtered and my family was also slaughtering the opposition, just so we could have a place, an identity called what? Bantama or Asante. None of those people were there. It was a confirmation. So for me, you understand, that's what I said. It depends on your belief. What has he contributed? So maybe that person, Jesus, has contributed more. So yes, you have the right to make it God. To this person, Muhammad has contributed more. So you have the right to. So it's all about belief systems. It's all about understanding. It's all about the contribution of these people to your life. Yes, he's already in the seat. So when he finishes, then yes. And then do you have a question for me?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Good. My question is, we talk about going to Divinity to find what to do, know what to do before taking any action. Now, my question is, does it work on every human being or every African? Let's say going for research about your past. Does it work for everybody? If there are people that is not working on, what should they do?
Do we have, can we research on anything on earth? Like let's say for instance, you want to research on anything that you've heard of in the world, in the universe. Is it possible for us to research on it? With the right tools?
Yeah.
Okay. That is called epistemology in modern scientific field or in modern scientific science understanding. It's called epistemology. The gathering of information, collation of data, the building of hypotheses or hypotheses, and then finding solutions to get to the bottom of the matter. The main reason why we do research is to find out the cause and to find a solution to the cause, right? The cause and the solution. So all this comes under epistemology. Now, in our system here in Africa, we also practice epistemology. The epistemology is the work of the priest. So if you are sick right now, the priest has to find out what made you sick. The priest has to find out what you need to avoid. The priest has to find out what is good for you, what is not good for you. You did this, you did that, you did this. This is not good. Next time, don't do this. Okay, this one is not good for this color. Is not a good color for you to be wearing. Your energy doesn't like this. This type of food does not relate well with you. You should be eating more of this. On Tuesdays, you need to be doing this, that, because your spirit aligns this way. What the cowrie shells are doing, the cowrie shells is a communication tool between the physical and the spiritual. So the priest is seated here, and then the priest is allowing the cowrie shells to build data. All you are doing is collecting data from the shells. All the information that is coming is data about you, data about your family, data about your future. Is data, right? And based on that data, then he can create a hypothesis, and then he can do the experimentations and then give you the answer. So our system here, it works on every single person who has a soul, whether they are present or they are absent. All they need is the name. So somebody can take you somewhere to go and inquire about you. They don't need, you don't need to be there presently. All they need is your name. If they have a picture of you, that's a plus. But if they don't have a picture of you, you will need your name, your mother's name, and A, B, C, D, which I cannot reveal here. And everything about you will come on the profile. Your profile will enter into your profile like you go on Facebook and you see your Facebook profile. It will appear. And it will tell you everything. Everything will be there. It will reveal itself. Because everybody has their thing in the Akashic records. So if you go to the Malam will take the sand, do the Hisabi. You know why they use the sand? Because we all came from the sun and we'll go back to the sun. Everything about you, every information about you is in the sand. Everything about you is in the sand.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we're approaching 5:30, and I hear some of you have a class also. So we have time for one or two more questions. So please, can you make it a succinct question as well? Yes, but at least use the microphone.
Okay, so mine is an inquiry and at the same time a bit of a contribution. I read somewhere not quite long ago about the Marvel comics and their use of the energies that you just mentioned here. So the link, let's say, the god of thunder to Thor, and then we have the god of metal to what's that one called? Ogun. Good. So these things have been reproduced back to us, and we see it as just comic. They're sacking our minds, not to even believe in what you are telling me right now. Now, my question is this. Why haven't we as Africans been able to harness all these energies? Why haven't we been able to harness all these energies? You just spoke about epistemology, which is documented if it were in the West, where the propaganda emanated from. Now, everyone has a different story. The diviner sees differently about everybody, but then it is not documented. So if I go today, if I go tomorrow, it's a different story. We don't document. Why haven't we been able to harness all these energies? When can we be able to harness all these energies for our own good? So that if they can throw the carry and then everything draws in the spirit, today I can call myself a diviner because I see everything on Facebook. I see it on Instagram. So if you can tell me when, I would like you to tell me, as a matter of fact, when we can get to harness all these energies and then develop in comparison to what this modern day is.
Okay. When was the last time? No, don't move. When was the last time? When was the last time you had you sat before a diviner and you made inquiries into your spirit? You inquired things from spirit. When was the last time?
That I cannot disclose here right now.
Have you? I just
Yes, I have.
Okay, but then it's been quite some time, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, secondly, the question that I want to also ask is that one is good that at least you have even made that effort, that initiative. But then, spirit works more on collective basis. We have spent almost 2,000 years of our lives running from so many things, running from danger, running from this, running from that. We had everything set up perfectly in Kemet. What you are requesting for right now, it was already in Kemet. Perfect in Kemet. And then Aristotle, Socrates, Hippocrates, and all of them came in, and what did they do? After they learned and then mastered that, what did they do? They burnt down they burnt down, how do you call it, the libraries of Alexandria. Took as much as they could. When they went back over there, they asked them, what did you study in Egypt? In ancient Egypt, they used to study the system of Sophia. How many evers are in this one? Have you heard of Sophia? Sophia? Sophia. Sophia is the undercurrent of what used to be practiced in ancient Kemet. Sophia gave birth to Sufism. Sophia. Sufism predates Islam thousands of years ago. So before Islam became a unified religion, they used to practice what is called Sophia. That Sophia came from ancient Kemet. That same Sophia is what you have in Everland. That same Sophia is what they took back into their various Greek and then Roman spaces, and they interpreted it as the learning of the Sophia system, a philosophia, which gave birth to philosophy. As long as there is philosophy, we are right there. As long as whatever you read from the Bible to the Quran to whatever, we are there. From the Gita to whatever, we are there. Despite the twists and the turns, look at it very well. Turn the book upside down, you will see us. And ask yourself, why are all the documentation on white sheets and black letters? We've always been there. We've always been there. We have gone nowhere. It's just that they've taken bits and pieces of what we have, reorganized it, reworded it for whatever political and economic reasons. But when I take the Bible and I read, I can pinpoint their codes. And I say, no, these people, they can't do this. They don't even do this. They don't even do that. They don't even do this. For example, when Jesus was entering into Bethlehem, the final triumphant entry, how many people do you know in Israel? How many women do you know in Israel that will take off their cover cloth and wave it over a man that they admire and they have so much respect for and put it on the ground for the person to walk on? It is only us that do that. It is not a custom in Israel. It is not a custom in Arabia. We are the ones who do that. Tell me any other tribe, any other race of people, of women that will take their cover cloth and lay it down for a man to walk. And I will show you which people they are. It is us. We do that.
Even in churches, our women going to put on the ground.
Exactly. We do that. Whatever you are reading, those small pieces they put in there, we do that. How many people, tell me, any race of people that still have stones, right? That still have stones that they pour oil on. We are the only people that have stones that we pour oil on. Are you getting my point?
I get your point.
Hey.
But I'm missing something here.
Okay, talk
Still
to me.
Today.
Talk to me.
Today.
Talk to me.
Why are we not able to harness? Because I would love to be able to harness all these energies, channel it to. I like money. I do a lot of business that I want it to flourish.
Ajay?
Thank you. Why can't we just harness that?
It is there if you want to harness it. You understand? Now, like I said, it is not on the collective scale. First, that used to be the norm. But then now everybody has different ways they assess that. But if you go to Nigeria, Ajay is one of the biggest. There's no businessman that I know of in Nigeria. There's no Igwe, no chief, all of them. You see them with the big walking stick, and everybody has Ajay. Everybody has Ajay. It's only here that I don't see us harnessing the Mamisika. You understand? Only a few people that I know harness the Mamisika. Only a few people. So what we have started here at Africana Divinity Studies is supposed to end that way. That is what Kwame Nkrumah envisaged. You understand? How do we take this thing from the jungle and then make it global? Now, what is the difference between the quantum pendant and this? The only difference is the quantum pendant is coming from China. This is a quantum pendant. But people will prefer to get this, you understand, from a shop where they will pay more money for it. But when I give somebody this, they will run from it. Now I'm not into, but they are into quantum pendants. The same way all these people, these priests, these preachers will sit behind television and then they will be watching A Journey to the West. Is it A Journey to the West?
Yeah.
Shifu. They're like, they get so excited. Everything about Shifu is what? VODUN, energy, divinity. But then they will sit with their families and then watch wholeheartedly, gladly. But then when Chewa comes back, hey, Chewa, we don't want to see. Are you getting me? So it will take time. We have been beaten so badly, we've been bruised so badly. It will take what we are doing to heal ourselves slowly. It will take people like me, people like you, people like all of us seated in this room to have that one collective direction. You understand? And then once we become the great force that we were again, it will just rise. Because the energies need us to first understand them before they can rise. And it always works on collective consciousness. 1, 2, 3 people can never make it happen. It will take collective consciousness. Just like 100,000 people have agreed that this tree is the police station. And the tree is doing its work because that's the covenant between them and nature.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I think we have time for one final question. Madam.
So, he wants a question. Okay.
And then we'll end with you. We'll let you ask the question and then we'll end with our brother. Thank you.
So, I read somewhere that those pyramids are the replica of NASA they exploring today. How true is it? Because those were the point contact of our divinity when they descend. Those pyramids in Egypt. They were the point of contact where those higher beings that comes down to, and mostly some of the building it was built by energy. So some of the stones you end up analyzing it, and you wouldn't know they still haven't found how those things were built. So it's like I read somewhere if it's the replica of NASA they're exploring today.
To add to what you're saying,
yeah.
There's a town on the mountains in Papin. It's called JUJU. It's a town called Tutu. Now, the foundation of the town, the story of the town, is that a male and a female divinity came from the heavens in a saucer. Listen very well. In a saucer, brass saucer. Right? On a stone. They came. I have been there to see the stone, but the chains and the saucer is buried under the stone. I can take you there to go see it. That is what they sat on, according to the legend there. That is what they sat on when they were coming from the heavens, and they came and they settled by the river called Juma, Esio Juma. It's in Tutu, Kwabena Tutu. And now the stone has been taken to one of the villages of Tutu, and then the saucer, you understand, the brass saucer. For me, I don't call it the saucer. I call it the, whatever they call it in modern days, as the flying, whatever, it's a flying saucer, and all those things. And blah, 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 blah.
So when are you taking us there? Because for me, I want to see.
Anytime you are ready. Even if you want to see it tonight, you'll be able to see it. So the story, just to add to what you are saying, this is not the only story. There are stories, ancient creational stories from different communities that actually shows that people came from the heavens to come to establish. For example, Tongo in Bolega. Tongo is believed to have just appeared. Most of the divinities were believed to just have appeared, and they came with their own people. When you go to Mori, the story of the people of Mori, right? The story of the people of Mori states that Mami Wata came, people came, and there was a lady that they believed to be Mami Wata. They just came from the ocean. They just saw people coming from the ocean, and people just came from the ocean to come and establish in Mori and create the town. Mori, the central region. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Mori, that is where they believe that people came from the ocean and just came in and just created that community. Tongo is believed to have just appeared from the heavens with his crew, and then before anybody, then he took, revealed himself to the first priest. Then he came there, did whatever, before you realize now you have Tenzubu and Tongo and all these things. So there's a lot of these stories of beings coming from the outer world or from other realms to come and establish here on earth. So what we have in Egypt is not a one-off story. It runs across the whole of West Africa. It runs across the whole of West Africa. You have those stories everywhere. So yeah, that buttresses what you are asking. I wouldn't doubt that. Yes,
we have one final question.
One finale.
Unless there's a burning one after this one.
Woo!
That's one of our returning guests.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to ask a question. You were speaking a few minutes ago.
Yes,
that you have the white pages with the black letters.
With black letters.
And that because we are there.
Exactly.
So, Dr. John Henry Clark once said that whoever controls the institutions are the things that you practice spiritually. You become the slaves, spiritual slaves of that people. So what I'm hearing is that they have taken us, our stories, placed it inside of their stories, and as Dr. Clark said, they took what was already ours, repackaged it, sold it back to us, and enslaved us by it. So therefore, I'm asking, when we practice these other foods, we can find the knowledge of them. You can find out where the Jesus story started. You study Nicene Creed and all of that. They're just stories. But when we accept them, we become the spiritual slaves of the people that control our stories. So if we are to get free, do we actually have to understand where we are in the stories, take ourselves out of the stories, and practice what we were practicing before the stories?
Exactly. You actually asked a question and given the solution at the same time. Yeah, I'm very glad how you asked the question, and you made it very easy. Yes, these are stories. most of these stories are just misconstrued stories. And it's just been additions and subtractions to it. So for us to be able to tell our story, or for us to get away from that slavery mentality, we need to first understand, the concepts of how those stories came into being. And then if we're able to understand the concepts of how those stories came into being, then we'll be able to redefine it, reshape it, and then retell it our way. For instance, when I went to India, I was taken to Chennai. Chennai, they have a temple there which is one of the most ancient, it's over 10,000 years old. And if you go to Chennai, almost all the images of Lord Krishna is black. And do you know the meaning in Sanskrit of Krishna? No, Jesus, the meaning of Sanskrit, of Krishna in Sanskrit means the black one. That is the meaning of Krishna. And then, after a period of time, when the invaders, the Mongolians and all those people started invading, when they were led by the Mughals and all those things, then they had to start changing the color of Krishna from black to what? Blue. So now most of the time, the pictures of Krishna that you see is what? Blue. So to understand Krishna, you need to go back to the black. To understand Islam, you need to understand what Saud is. What is Saud? Saud means black. Swad, Aswad, black soil. That's the root word Saud. Saudi Arabia, Black Arabia. It was founded by people from Yemen, Ethiopia, and those places around those areas. Those were the original founders of that space we know as Saudi Arabia. Ethiopia and Egypt. Ethiopia is older than what? Egypt. So whatever was being practiced in Egypt, exactly, the Kush areas, all those things, so all those practices, they took it, all those practices into Arabia, and then it became something else, and then they picked A, B, C, D from it, and built as the biggest convention of all Muslims called the Kaaba. Why is the Kaaba not white? Why is it not brown? Why is it black? Why is the black stone, the black meteorite stone, the most important relic in Islam? I'm not going to answer that. That's going to be your homework. Why is the black stone the most important relic in Islam? Why is the Kaaba draped in black? Why is Krishna changed from black to blue? Why? You understand? And then in between there, the same Bible, right? The same Bible, after they've told you they come back to Revelation and tell you his feet was what? Like burnt brass. So he's answered that question for you. So they just throw in the real, but they want to mask the real with a whole lot of BS.
Can I ask something?
Yes, please.
You know, these religions of our captors, our enslavers, they have a similar book in some of the same stories in all of them. But one thing that I've seen in all of them, they have instructions for how to enslave the people. They say that the people go into captivity because they worship gods that their fathers did not know. God is a concept, and when we take on that small concept, we become a small people, and we become controllable. But if we were to actually look and see where the concept came from and understand what we were doing was much bigger than that.
Exactly.
So we've been enslaved by other people taking our notions, wrapping them up, selling them back to us. And now we don't really practice
a very
religion.
expensive price.
Yes, we don't practice religions. Islam, we practice capitalism. And that's the biggest religion that they hear. We're all chasing money.
Exactly.
That's the end.
Thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you very much. So let's give our speaker a round of applause.
Once again, thank you all for making time out of your busy schedule to be here. Hope you enjoyed this discussion, and we hope at least we've learned something new. For nothing after all, we have to leave here now with this misconception of demonizing JUJU and thinking it's something evil, something primitive, something that's wayward, and something that's going to lead you astray. And don't be too frightened with some gym. be a bit open to learn more about who you are. So I hope at least this will help shape us and embrace our identity. So thank you all for making it here. And also a big thanks to our online community, and thanks again for once all being here at the Nketia Center for Africana Studies to learn this wonderful and insightful conversation on African divinity, JUJU and VODUN. Thank you once again.